Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I am your host, Mark Hill, and alongside me is my co-host, Mitch Grawl. How you doing, Mitch?
Fantastic, Mark. Fantastic. Ready to get here for the Super Bowl.
There you go. We had some real good games this past weekend. Well, if you won, it was a good game. If not, maybe not so much. So what we're going to do today, people, we're going to go through the two games. We have a special guest on that'll be coming up a little bit later since it is Media Day, and we'll continue moving on from there. So if you are ready, as the co-host says, let's get after it. We're going to start off first with the Los Angeles Chargers and the New York Jets. Jets happen to take that one 38-14. I don't think there was any doubt in anyone's mind, not to take anything away from LA, but that's a tall order. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be closer. No, I did predict, that New York would win by 14. Okay, so obviously they did, but 24-point win. Yeah, I thought the Chargers were going to be better than that, but hey. Hats off to Coach Corbett getting to the championship game, and I'm sure that with some of that young talent he's got, they'll be back again in the hunt next year.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it at all. But looking at the game, let's see. Derek Carr was Derek Carr. Was it 24 for 40 for 327 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Pretty much.
He did start off a little slow again. That was one thing that we've noticed in the playoffs. He starts off slow, so that might be something to watch out for here coming up this week against Chicago.
Yeah,
I don't know if he could start off slow against Chicago and make it up like he's done against L.A. And Jacksonville.
Yeah, now that I think about the previous week game, he did start off a little bit slow. I think Jacksonville kind of held him down in the first half, and then the gates just opened up. So that could be a little opening there. Let's look at it from the Los Angeles side. Deshaun Kaiser was 28 for 53 for 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So both of them had matching TDs and interceptions. The running game wasn't really that strong on either side. Neither team was over 100 yards in rushing. The Jets had 65 yards total rushing, and the Chargers had 45 yards in rushing.
The Chargers didn't really try to run the ball, so I don't know if that's necessarily fair. They only ran the ball 10 times. So, I think I probably run the ball 10 times in the first quarter of the game.
Well, when you go up against a team like that, the question is, you got to find out you can't go with one side constantly. You just can't pass because then he's going to set everybody back, and the box is going to be wide open. So you got to be able to push it through there and try to run the ball. Yeah, or if the game got out of hand, then I can see you switching over and saying, you know what, I have to abandon the run game just to try to play keep up. But early on, you got to try to keep them honest. And if you can get that running game established and keep it going, now you have them off balance.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. So let's see here. Just as I go through the stat lines, it's pretty much a Jets. Oh, they had the 1 interception. Faison for the Jets had an interception for 74 yards. That was definitely a play that set him up, going in the opposite direction to keep adding on to the points. The interception that the Chargers had was for Phillips, 1 interception for 5 yards. So he really didn't do that much on that interception, but it was pretty much Jets football. Nothing more you can really say about that.
Well, hey, but let's also give some kudos to that kicker, Younghoe Koo. 5 for 5 on extra points and 1 for 1 on field goals. He had 8 points. He, by himself, he'd have been within 6 points of Los Angeles. So, kudos to Younghoe there.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that as well. So just
We always hate on these kickers, so let's give the guys some kudos.
Yeah, what was it? There was a song I remember called "The Lonesome Kicker." So everyone he always sits at the end of the bench. Nobody really wants to know about him. He's supposed to be seen and not heard until it comes down to the wire. Then everybody wants to rally around him. If he kicks the winning goal, he's the hero. If he misses it, he's the GOAT. Everyone's just dog or the dog. He's a dog of the group. Just everyone's just dogging him out. So.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of lonesome kickers, I think that's a great segue into that Chicago-Detroit game because I don't even think Detroit has a kicker on their roster. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Mark?
I don't know. Was it the punt? Was the punter doing the kicking duties?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think Detroit has kicked an extra point all year or actually tried a field goal. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but
he is always known for going for two. So yeah. But I will tell you this though, from the game because they ended up losing the game to Chicago 38-13. They did not convert any of the 2-point conversions as according to the stat sheet. More than likely, they probably tried it, but I do believe that the Cardinals were there waiting for him.
Yeah, I don't think it would have mattered. When you look at the stats of this game, well, one, if you watch this game, there was really no doubt at all from the opening kickoff. But when you look there at just the stats, Chicago held the ball 35 minutes, 30 first downs out there, nearly 60% third down, percentage. 60% third down percentage out there. I mean, this basically controlled the game from start to finish. I mean, Troy had a few hot spots in there where they were able to break through, but this was a pretty much dominating performance by Chicago from the start. And usually in a game where Chicago scores 38 points, you usually see Sam Darnold as player of the game, but Darius Leonard, the linebacker for Chicago, said, no, I'm going to stand out this week. And, I don't know if we've seen a playoff performance by a linebacker like this since, the 1986 New York Giants, Lawrence Taylor. I mean, Leonard had 3 sacks in this game, was all over Jalen Hurts. Just was in the backfield all game long. And, it was really fun to watch if you were a Chicago fan.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think Detroit was probably thinking that, hey, is he on our team or not? Because he's spending so much time back there. It's probably starting to call plays for Leonard, because he's just back there. Or he was in the huddle saying, okay, you guys going to run this? All right, so I'll line up over here. So looking at the stat lines, though, Sam Darnold was 25 for 40 for 289 yards. 2 touchdowns and an interception. Jalen Hurts was 13 for 25, 259 yards passing with 1 interception. So the yards were pretty similar, but again, like you said, the defense. I mean, Chicago had their number dialed up, and they knew exactly where to poke those holes at to accomplish their mission and take it to Detroit. Not to take anything from Detroit. They had a great season, tough team to play against, but this day was Chicago.
Well, maybe part of this was, Detroit, watching the film of the Chicago Green Bay game said, well, there's no need to try to even kick because Chicago had 3 blocks the week before. I think, 2 punts and a kick. And, that might be another reason why they just decided the heck with even trying to do anything in the kicking game. But hats off to Chicago, and it should line up for a big time matchup in Super Bowl. I believe 43.
I believe it is 43. Yes,
fantastic PNFL. So should be a lot of fun. A rematch of our 2038 Super Bowl. So looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think I was in the league. No, I was not in the league at that time. But from looking at the stats from those games in the past, I think this is going to shape up to be a real good game. I think the line has shown as a pick'em, so you guys just need to look at and see, okay, who's gonna it's going to be the ultimate chess match, I think, because both of them have been the tops all season long. So it's going to be that little dance. And because they're such top tier teams, they are very familiar with each other. So now it's going to be, okay, how can I outmaneuver him? Is he if he does this, I'm going to do that. It's going to be a chess match.
Yeah, I agree.
Most definitely. So as we've gone through these the games and the highlights, and this is our how do we discuss it? Our media day. We have a special guest with us. We did reach out to the Jets. Excuse me. We did reach out to the Jets, and Mr. Murphy is, since he knows it's a big game, he is out hanging out with Bill Belichick, and he is unavailable at this time.
Actually, Mark, I've actually, with my sources through the PNFL News, what I've heard is that Derek Carr apparently was spotted at a local massage parlor with San Francisco's Deshaun Watson, and Coach Murphy decided that he needed to go and play, basically chaperone, Derek Carr, because he cannot afford to have Derek Carr suspended before this game is over. Bro.
Yeah, I think that I don't know, maybe the commish Charlie and Rich, the assistant commissioner, need to get involved in that a little bit, because that could go a very bad way hanging out with Deshaun, because he has those tendencies. So he just wants to be a little extra relaxed or something, so a little stressed out. But I don't know. Not good. So, yeah. But so our Jets coach is not available, but we do have with us the NFC champion head coach here with us, and we would like to give a special welcome to the show for the Chicago Cardinals coach, Justin Tucker. Welcome, Coach. Welcome to the show.
All right, thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, my first question, and then I'm going to pass it off to my co-host. So, as you saw the game played out, what were your thoughts as far as how everything was going, as far as your strategy and your planning? Did it go the way you expected it to go? Were there some surprises that you had that you didn't anticipate on it? What were some of the things that you saw going into the game as you planned it out, how you planned it, and how it performed on the field?
Yeah, I think the team played well enough to get the win, obviously. That's first and foremost. Coming out of there, I want to congratulate Coach Bloomer on just an outstanding year. Nobody saw him coming along as being anywhere near an NFC Championship this year, and he really rose above the rest of the conference to give us a run. And a team like that is very dangerous. They can be kind of unpredictable. Obviously, we have a little bit more talent on our roster, but you never know what they might throw at you. And again, we were just fortunate to come away with the victory. Team got the job done. We executed well.
Okay, definitely. So, Mitch, do you have any questions for him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Coach Tucker, glad to have you on the show. And here on this show, as well as in the PNFL News, we really like to pride ourselves on hard-hitting, sports journalism. And so having you on the show today to talk through some of the strategies and some of the things going into the Super Bowl is fantastic. And so, a few things here as we look at getting ready for the Super Bowl 43. This is definitely not your first rodeo when it comes to the Super Bowl. This is your fourth Super Bowl. You're 3-0 in Super Bowls. In fact, the first Super Bowl you were in was back in the season 2010. And, I guess as you get ready for this particular game this week, our season 2040, how do you feel? What's the excitement level? Is it the same as it was back in 2010, or share how you feel going into this game?
Well, I think we really have our work cut out for us this week. I think that the Jets have cemented their legacy with a dynasty. I believe they have about 12 consecutive division titles now, and they're just a team that's in there every single season. Basically, we're just trying to be like them and do what they do.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And it's, you've had a pretty good run there recently in division titles as well. I want to say, the NFC West might as well be the NFC Chicago. I think, 8 division titles in a row. And, we failed to mention that this is your 4th Coach of the Year award as well here in 2040, your first one coming back in 2023. What would you say has been maybe your biggest focus, or what the main thing you can point to that's really helped you sustain this success with multiple Super Bowls, multiple Coach of the Year awards, and just high levels of success? What do you point to that helps with that?
I think in order to sustain the success in this league, it's important that you're active in the GM role, and that you really try and build a team that has a plan for multiple years. You don't go necessarily all in on one season, but you just try and build something that's going to be sustainable year in, year out.
So you're not.
No.
So you're not doing the basic.
Mark.
So you're not doing the basic. I'm gonna dump everything in and buy a team to make it this season, and try to make everything just mesh in. As far as going to try to go all the way. What about your play calling? How do you determine which plays you're going to select? I know that some teams will just sit there and just grab some plays out of the playbook, throw it in there, and say, "Okay, here you go." Kind of half do the profile. So there's a lot that goes into it. How much planning do you take to go into it using the tools that you have to scout other teams?
Yeah, well, Mark, I think that people that want to win football games don't necessarily like to talk about how they win football games, especially when there's others that are hungry for success around them. So I'll just say that we do the best with the information that's available, and we put the effort in trying to be successful week in, week out, year in, year out.
I think Mark's trying to get a few tips on how to get that offense scoring next year. I don't know. Maybe that's what I did.
Not so loud. Not so loud. I'm trying to get that out.
I got you. Well, I tell you, you bring up a great point, though, Mark, and because, not only multiple Coach of the Years, multiple Super Bowls here. By the way, Coach Tucker has never lost a Super Bowl in the PNFL, so he is 3-0, now going for number 4. But also, too, I want to say has led the league in scoring. I believe this is the 8th time that Coach Tucker-led team has led the league in scoring. So definitely in a league that we sometimes say, hey, we're not scoring enough, it has not necessarily been the case for a Coach Tucker team. So way to go there. And so I guess wrapping this part up, the last meeting in the Super Bowl between you and Coach Murphy was that 2038 nail biter that you won 21-20. And in talking with Coach Murphy after the game this past week, apparently that's still at the top of his mind, as he's still not over that 2038 game. So anything that you can remember about that 2038 game that stands out that you're thinking about going into this game?
Yeah, I think that year Coach Murphy and the Jets did not have a very good kicker. And I think that kicker had underperformed all season, missed a lot of field goals. A lot of times with those guys, it doesn't really matter. They're not in a lot of close games. But he didn't have a solid kicker, which he now has. So I view it as though we're facing a much more complete Jets team this time around, and a team that's going to have all options on the table.
I agree. Good stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, Coach Tucker, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts on some of your successes and how you've been able to sustain that from thoughts going into the game here this week. A big game, the Super Bowl, number 4 for you here. And Mark, any questions or any other thoughts you have for Coach Tucker tonight?
No, I think he pretty much, from what he can tell us, I mean, if you want to be successful in this league, it's not one of these leagues where you can just throw something out there. You really have to take the time and the effort to plan it and to scout it. And I think that's what kind of separates that upper tier, that middle tier, and then that lower tier. As my 4th year in the league, I know when I started in, I came in with a mindset of other leagues I played in where you can just throw something out there. But this league is structured in such a way, and the people are so dedicated in this game that you really have to plan it out and to strategize it. So I say thank you for coming on today and giving us the information. And if you're willing to stick around a little bit longer, what we're going to do is we have another commercial sponsor. And actually, this is something that and you'll have a commercial sponsor. We're going to talk about the game, the big game, a little bit more, and then probably have a couple more questions for you, Coach, if you're willing to just stick around for a little bit longer. And if that's fine with you, we would really appreciate it.
Sure, you bet, guys.
All right, so what we're going to do, I do have a new commercial that just came up in recent events from some of the players getting in trouble, as we mentioned earlier. One of the famous football players from our past is trying to do a special announcement to try to help some of these players out. He actually has a video product out to try to help these young players out, and it is getting kind of close to the wire for the 2 championship teams. But some of those other players out there in the league, they can go ahead and get this now so they can have it for next season. So if everybody is ready, here we go.
What's up? This is Eric Williams of the Dallas Cowboys. And if you plan on getting a variety of ass, you might want to pick up my video, How to Do a Lot of Bitches Without Getting Sued. In today's world, there's a lot of lying bitches out there, so you gotta protect your shit. And I ain't talking about rubbers. Rubbers are bullshit. I'm talking about staying out of jail by covering your ass with video consent. Check this shit out. Gonna give up the booty?
Okay.
Now that is consent. What you say you bring me a piece of that ass?
I guess.
See, she's cool with it. How about some of that poo-poo?
Sure, Eric, I'd love to have intercourse with you.
That bitch is a keeper. Yo, bitch, give up that ass.
Well, okay.
She got more into it later. You ready for 10 inches of America's team?
I just want to go home.
No, that's implied consent. That bitch wanted to kick it out at her crib. My video will also educate your ass about waivers, signing shit ahead of time, and those holdout bitches. You want me to give you this thing?
No, don't. Stop it. Will you please just drive me home, or I'll report you to the Cowboys.
Now, by the time this video reached my lawyer's office, the shit sounds like this. You want me to give you this thing?
Don't. Stop driving it. Home, Cowboys.
Now that's consent. You won't ever find yourself in front of a bunch of nosy, honky reporters if you pick up my video, How to Do a Lot of Bitches Without Getting Sued. Call 1-800-CONSENT today. Shit.
There you go. So, questions, comments out there, Mitch?
Well, I would think that Deshaun Watson might have been able to have called that number a few times, but
no, because if Deshaun Watson would have done that, if he would have got the video, he wouldn't have the problems that he's in right now.
Yeah, true. And as I said last week, the commercials that are on our show do not always represent the thoughts and the minds of those who are broadcasting or in the league. So just want to put that disclaimer out there.
Well, I got a question for Coach Tucker. Coach, now that, I've noticed that your players have not been in any trouble. So did you give copies of this video out to your players, and you just kind of holding it back to yourself, and something you could have dispersed out to the league as a whole, or were you just kind of holding it to try to keep your players in line?
we've trained discipline in training camp the last few seasons, actually.
Okay, so it's been football 24/7 all day, no time for anything else. Just focus on that and just go with that. Perfect. That's what we're talking about.
That's what a good GM does. He finds high character guys to be on his team, and they have to worry about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but sometimes those troubled players, may not be the most perfect ones out there, but hey, when they're on the gridiron, they get the job done.
Yeah, this is probably more of a Kansas City problem more than it is a Chicago problem.
Oh, so turmoil down in Kansas City, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so moving on. Oh my! Some of these sponsors that we are having here, you know what? I think my team is going to have to screen these things a little bit closer now, and they're going to have to let me know about it, and I'm going to have to let my co-host know about it because, I think there's some shenanigans going on in the back. So going into the final game of the season, Chicago and the Jets. So, Mitch, I will let you start this one off. What do you see going to happen here in the passing game, in the running game for both teams?
Oh, boy. I tell you, I don't know. I mean, you look at the stats, right? And, hey, Jets, top offense in the league, top passing team. Carr wins the MVP. Chicago, right there as well. I mean, it's pretty much a tie as far as the passing efficiencies and touchdowns and all those sorts of things. Running the ball, I will say that Chicago has done a better job of balancing things out. Maybe not necessarily in the number of times that they run the ball, but they're running it at a 4.7 clip, the best in the league, by the way, if anyone had not paid attention to that. So when they do run the ball, they are very effective. Jets, not as much on that side. The one thing I will say is that the Jets defense, has been one of the best as well, especially against the pass. But then you look, hey, guess who's number 2? Chicago.
Yep.
So I tell you what, this is a tough game. The last time they played the Super Bowl, it was 21-20. Chicago, as we already talked about, they played earlier the year. Chicago won that game. If everyone remembers, Chicago did win that game earlier in the year. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say Carr started off slow in that game too. They tried to make a comeback, but was not able to do that. And so going with how Carr has been starting out in these games, I'm going to lean Chicago. I think if Carr gets out to that slow start, he's not going to be able to bring the Jets back against Chicago. So, no idea what the score is going to be. I think it'll be less than a touchdown, though. I
have to agree with you on that. It'll be less than a touchdown. As I look at the stats as well, both teams are in the tops as far as passing the ball. The numbers are both looking good. Defense, definitely they're 1 and 2. So from a chess match, okay, who's going to have the upper hand on the defense? I don't see it there. Rushing right now, I would give the slight edge to Chicago on that because they are running the ball a little bit more. Definitely more efficient. 4.7 yards per carry versus New York with 3.9 yards per carry. So, and also, let's see here, Chicago's ran it 350 times. Jets have ran it 366. And, I give the edge to Chicago for putting up the better yards. For the defense, Jets, they have the number 3 rushing defense. Chicago has the number 8. But as you mentioned earlier, the Jets have been having that slow start. And that slow start, first quarter, you got to be off to that quick punch, what they say is hit them in the nose first and then have them reeling a little bit. And if Chicago can do that, they're off to the races. And then you'll have the Jets playing catch up. So definitely I agree with you that, let's see. I was kind of off on a couple other ones. I would say, between 3 to 7. It's a pick'em game. I'm going to say 7 points is going to be the spread. It is a pick'em game, but I think I'm leaning more towards Chicago by the simple fact of what you mentioned earlier. The Jets have been getting the slow start. If they get a slow start, it's over. If it's a Jets is off to a quick start, then I could see it going their way. Or if it's a 0-0 at the end of the first, it can go a little bit further on. But if the Jets have a slow start, it's over. I really do believe it.
Well, no, the only thing we can't predict right now, because PNFL weather alerts do not go more than game day weather. This game, even though it'll be a neutral game, is going to be in New York, and New York in the winter. There's usually some weather elements that come into play, but Chicago's used to that too.
Exactly, Windy City. Yeah.
So it shouldn't be. But hey, you never know. If we have some snow or some sleet, we could start seeing some turnovers, which then that just throws a toss up into the game. So
yes,
it's going to be interesting to see for sure. But regardless, I'm expecting a fun matchup, a fun game, and it'll be broadcast live, so we can all sit there and talk and chat there during the game and see how it all plays out.
Yes, and before I forget, we still have Coach Tucker on the show with us. So, Coach, what we gave our predictions on it without giving too much away, and I know you've already said it's a tough game for you. You are 3-0 in the final game. Well, we've already talked about your game plan or how your mindset is. So, how do you approach this? The days before, or I don't know. I don't know the right words I'm looking for here, but just planning it out and strategizing, looking at from the numbers that we look at and present here. How does those numbers factor into what you're going to do, or an idea of what you're thinking about in your head as you plan this out?
Yeah, well, again, I think we're just fortunate to be here right now. I think that it's a tough game going on the road in the championship. Oftentimes that is a neutral site game, but in the PNFL, we got to go to Giants Stadium. And I've lost a lot of tough games in Giants Stadium before. My old division rival, Coach Parkerson and the Giants, pretty much owned any team that I coached in the playoffs. So we're going back into hostile territory, and we're going to have a few bounces go our way, I think, to come out on top this week.
Mark, I think what the listeners really want to hear from Coach Tucker is what's going to be the pregame meal that's going to be served as the team gets ready. Do you have any superstitions on what you want with your team to eat prior to the Super Bowl?
Good question.
We like to carve it up, have a good amount of spaghetti and meatballs, and then I'll be enjoying after the game, win or lose, a good red beer.
Very good, very good. That's the kind of hard-hitting journalism that our viewers and listeners are looking for, Mark. So I just want to go ahead and get that question out there. So,
okay. Yeah, there you go. I'm trying to run numbers and trying to figure the questions out in my head to ask, and because it's unscripted. But there you go. That's it. So as we come to wrap up this show, you guys, I do believe this is going to be a great game. It's going to be on Twitch, and I do believe the commish is going to be sending the link out, so we will have everything set up. So as we come to wrap up this show, from both of us, I would like to thank Coach Tucker for taking time out of his day to come on to the show. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And as we wrap up the show, Mitch, do you have anything else you want to add before we call it a day?
Yes, just a reminder that our commercials do not reflect the viewpoints of all of those in the PNFL or the broadcasters. And with that being said, let's get it, Mark.